are now tuned to BS3 Network.
Bring it back. My check.
Hey, we need that drop.
Yeah.
How is the Fourcast not winning this best intro, man? I ain't feeling it. This shit is real.
Hot intro.
All right, welcome to the Fourcast. I thought it was going to be the two cast for a minute, and then the last at the bell.
Yeah, I was signing autographs. Took me.
But welcome to the Fourcast. We review movies, films, documentaries a completely different way, for different perspectives. Coming at you every Monday, 8:30 Central, 9:30 Eastern. And as we continue this music review series, I was gonna say music review month, but the month is over with. So we continuing on into March.
Yeah.
And this next one, man, is Thriller 40. It's been 40 years since the Thriller album was released, and this was definitely one that we had to do. And it is available on it's on YouTube. And it's also on Paramount. Paramount's the main spot, but Amazon. But this is something you definitely got to watch. If you a Michael Jackson fan, if you a Thriller fan, if you got the Thriller album, it's definitely one of those that you have to watch.
Yes.
So, all right, what's going on, fellas?
Ain't nothing to it but to do it for those that can dance and clap their hands to it. You know the deal.
All right,
Good. All right.
So break down Thriller 40, Doc.
Thriller 40 is a 2023 documentary film about the 40th anniversary of Michael Jackson's 1982 album Thriller. The film, directed by Nelson George, was released in the U.S. on 12/2/2023.
All right.
Short and sweet.
Short, sweet, to the point. We already know what the Thriller album was, but as we get into some initial thoughts, what I really loved about this is that it broke down each song, how they came about, who was involved in it, even some kind of throwaway songs that didn't make the album. And I felt like that really gave this different than just a Michael Jackson documentary. We know his background. They had a 5-part series on the Jackson family, so we already know that. But this was definitely specific to Thriller, and I think it was done very well. Wilkes.
Yeah, I thought it was done very well. Of course, all those memories of my cousin torturing me with the Thriller video. It's kind of like, hey, I was screaming about this, about crocodile tears, man. But Thriller, that cover is iconic, and then you open it and the tiger is in there, and he's in the Miami Vice suit, shout out Miami Vice. But it was done very well. Great album, and yes, Human Nature, I have to say, is probably one of my favorite Michael Jackson songs. Just the way it's put together, and that melody is pretty dope.
Yeah. Hey, Trap.
It was very well put together. This is one of the greatest albums of all time from a selling and a contemporary, adult contemporary point of view. It's an excellent mixture of pop and pop R&B, and you have one of the greatest singers, one of the greatest record producers, and two of the greatest people in the history of music come together and made an album that literally took over the world. And it was interesting to watch it. living through this, you saw it, and then looking back, I still don't think, as great as this was, I still don't think it gave it justice in regards to the impact of this album and Michael Jackson's impact on the world.
Agreed.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think once you say this, you say there was before Thriller and there was after Thriller. They call this the line of demarcation, similar to the Mason-Dixon line. Okay, it was before Thriller, after Thriller, because it changed the game. It is one of the qualifications for somebody to make it into a Hall of Fame, like Sports Hall of Fame. Did they change the game? Is one of the questions, and he changed the game. Now, what's interesting is that you can't tell the story of Thriller without telling the story of Off the Wall. So for you to come in and think that that's all you're going to hear is not accurate, because Off the Wall and how it was received and how it was cast, being straight R&B, is the reason why you got Thriller, and then also what this did is really make me more upset about the fact that Prince doesn't have something with a similar treatment, meaning with a similar quality that I've seen out there. It just highlighted how horrible those Prince documentaries were last week.
Right. Bad.
Yeah.
Come on, Netflix. Figure out what you need to do to make that happen.
You know what you need to do.
Go and give them that money, man.
You give enough bread.
Go and give that money.
I mean,
man.
they got it. Come on, they trying to get the NFL on Netflix weekly.
They got it.
So you got the money. That ain't the problem.
Yeah.
All right. So Thriller 40, and like Doc said, before Thriller, after Thriller, and just the entire album was just music. It was just different forms of music all in one. And they kind of started off. Let me back up. They gave a little bit of Gary, Indiana, Jackson 5. Then they went into Off the Wall, so that part wasn't.
Show them ugly ass pictures of Joe and Catherine.
Hey, don't do Joe like that. That's my daddy.
They should have just had him with a belt in his hand.
Hey, it made him great. That belt, whippings do help. Okay, whippings are not always bad. Whippings can help.
I'm a guy who's coached his son. I get it. I get it.
But that Jackson 5, and again, you can't tell the story of Michael Jackson of Thriller without the Jackson 5. And I was watching this with my wife, and she was like, "Man, he was the Jackson 5. Like, yeah, with him early on, even when he was a kid. Like that was, and his dad actually didn't want him in the group, but when he was in the group, like the group went, leaps and bounds, probably above where they were. So Jackson 5 is definitely that classic group, and I think you had to do that part as well to get you to Thriller. Now the part of the Jackson 5, him wanting to go solo, and this was 1982. So I mean, I was just born. I don't remember a lot of. I just watch it from documentaries or from movies and stuff like that. But A-Trap, talk about that in between of him going from Jackson 5 to going solo, and what kind of pushed that.
Well, you have to go back to the mid-'70s because they had issues with Motown. And then, they're having issues with Motown. That's why they went from the Jackson 5 to the Jacksons. And then when they went from the Jackson 5 to the Jacksons, then you get Michael saying, hey, you know what? I want to see what I can do on my own. And when he does it in Black America, as they stated in the film, Black America, he took over. The dude was like as you stated, you got somebody who's been famous since 7 or 8 years old. Him and his brother own the world, to the point where white America even started their own group, the Osmonds, and they were popular, but they were not. No, they were not the Jackson 5. So he makes this, as Dog referenced, he makes this album Off the Wall, and to this day, people will, it's an ongoing online debate and social circles. It's Off the Wall better than Thriller, and then he said he wanted to take over music and did it. It's extremely difficult to make a statement. I want to take over the world and do it. This was insane. And when you look back at it, like I told you, 40 years ago today, I was a freshman in high school. This is the back end of my freshman year. And when I got to George W. Westerhouse High School in Chicago, Illinois, like, let's just say it's 100% of the guys. Just like me, jeans, t-shirt, you know, a lot of us had the cardigan sweaters and damn sweaters my mother used to dress me in. And the rest of the damn student body, it was dudes with beaded jackets, Thriller jackets, jerry curls, and looking like Michael Jackson. And the other half of the students, male student body, was looking like Prince, 25%, 25%. This dude owned the 80s. Period. There's not, it could be this. Prince was gigantic, but Michael was on another level.
Yeah. And if you think about the star power that he had, people fainting, people like literally losing their minds, crying. I don't know if we've seen a level of that type of stardom just when they're not even close to him, and they're doing all of that. So Doc, I'm gonna come to you, but let me get to the chat real quick. Trey Natural's in the building. Thank you for tuning in. We appreciate you. Blue Streak in the building. Thank you for tuning in. I haven't seen you in a couple of weeks. I know you normally give us a thumbs up or a like. She said the glove. Yeah. And when he got burned, and he just had that one hand out with the glove like that, the dude was a marketing genius too.
Yeah.
Like, I think that part doesn't get talked about enough. I think we consider him his artistry and his performing, but just that level too. But Doc,
what?
Going from
now, what's funny about it is that when I remember this, I feel like I was older than I actually was, right? Because in 1982, I was only 11. But I remember vividly everything that happened surrounding Thriller, right? Now, what I will say is that I wasn't as familiar with Off the Wall until I got older, you know. So, you know, but Thriller is when the crossover happened. You know, that's when MTV basically was strong armed by the likes of David Bowie and Walter Yetnikoff, you know, threatening to pull his artists like Billy Joel, you know, if they don't put him on MTV. Right. So when he went to MTV, you know, like they talked about, people were planning on skipping school, and we were making it, you know, there was a couple of events. I remember my family watching all together when I was young, and one of them was Roots. And the other one was Michael Jackson video releases. Yeah. That's what we're gonna watch those. You know, and of course, some boxing matches with Larry Holmes and some stand-ups with Richard Pryor. You know, there were some big events that everybody got together to watch. That it was a big deal. You know, so the fact that I was only 11 was surprising to me, because I thought I was, you know, because that album lasted so long. You know, meaning. You know, the hits from it were popular so long. It seems like nowadays when you have a hit album, the record and the singles on it and stuff aren't hot like that for a year, you know. But it seems like his stuff was hot for 5, 6, 7 years off that one album.
Long time.
He didn't, and then according to this documentary, he didn't even really tour with the album, because that's when they came in and did the Jacksons tour in '84, 2 years afterwards. Right. You know, so in '84, I'm in the 8th grade, getting ready to go into the 9th grade. So when you talk about that transition from Off the Wall, you know, or from the Jacksons to Off the Wall and doing his solo stuff, you know, being a huge Michael Jackson fan, there's some anniversary editions and stuff where they play the behind the scenes stuff. Like, so there's a lot of demo work of when he was doing the demo for Don't Stop Till You Get Enough, and working day and night and stuff like that. And how Jermaine and a couple of them was fucking with him while he in there trying to record. And Janet and Reby and a couple of them was like, y'all leave him alone. He trying to get this right. You know, like this stuff is on the demo, you know, and stuff like that, where he's working. So his family was still involved with him doing his solo stuff. So they weren't at odds for it, but I'm sure there was some jealousy that may not have been said. It's just that's just the way it is, right? Didn't nobody come to see you, Otis?
And I think one of the biggest things is that I learned, it was never a actual Thriller tour, which to me is wild. And this album still had what's is the most selling album of all time.
Yeah.
And they, he did a tour, and I mean, shout out to Joe. Joe was like, "Hey, we could capitalize off of this." And I mean, he did what his dad asked, but still, even without, imagine if he had a tour, like would that have even made it even more?
It'd been insane. Yeah,
probably would have been even more. But Wilkes, I know we're right around the same age, but talk about the those premieres and going home and watching.
I mean, I had never seen anything like it. I was just like 7:30. Michael Jackson dropping music videos out here. Like what happened?
Movies.
What's that?
I said movies, short films,
basically. Pretty much, yeah. Pretty much theatricals. But I had, like I said, I'd never seen anything like that, because it was just like, man, this is like an episode of some, or like you said, a movie, a short film, short story with music, and just thinking about how Prince and Michael Jackson were, when you saw a certain thing from them, like I said, once again, superstar, superhero activated, Michael Jackson and the production that they were doing as far as like merchandising, and then they got into toys, and then he was, of course, I love the commercial. I love what they talked about his contract for Pepsi. We'll get into that later, but that was that was amazing. I didn't realize that. But this was big. I want to say my mom had the vinyl. Of course, I bought the 40, but growing up, we did have the vinyl in the house. And just listening to that, I didn't realize that it was as big as it was. I'm just listening to music. I have no sense of, popularity at that time as far as like what is selling, what is big. I just know Michael was it. Prince was doing his thing. And like you said, Michael was pretty much the 80s. In A-Trap, people were dressing like Michael Jackson. People were dressing like Prince, looking for Halloween. I mean, kids were dressing up, adult teens, they were dressing up like Michael Jackson and Prince. So, yeah, pretty crazy. It's definitely significant. I mean, I don't think you can mention the 80s without remembering Prince and Michael Jackson.
Right. And like the world stopped. When they dropped something, the world stopped. Yeah. And then I remember the time, I don't know if it was a premiere for that.
Yeah,
I remember my dad was recording it.
On-screen kiss.
Yeah. I mean, he had the VHS.
Magic Johnson was in it.
Yeah.
Oh, man,
I remember watching that premiere. But shout out to his gift. Thank you for tuning in. Appreciate that. Keisha in the building says, fellas, what's good? It's lovely seeing all y'all together again, and you too, dog. All right. So, man, Quincy Jones, man, which I was talking about this with Mayhem. I was surprised he wasn't in this, like sitting down in a chair. But they did have clips of him talking. But you can't talk about Thriller either without him. Yeah, and his impact and the people, the arms and the reach that he had, and just him watching him like work the board, and nodding his head and smiling. Those are really, I think, great pieces.
And especially that one piece where they said he was going from like Studio A to Studio B. He's walking back and forth, checking on certain elements of the album. I was like, man, that's crazy.
Yeah. Even having the studio. And them playing the songs and playing some of the demo, and them panning the camera around. I mean, like that's stuff that you love to see in the documentary.
Yeah, there's a couple of things that I think made Quincy Jones the genius that he is. Number one, he came from film, so the way he saw music was a little different. It was probably a little bit more three-dimensional. And then the second thing, in my estimation, is and this happened whenever Beat It was there, and they brought in Eddie Van Halen to do the drums. The guitar solo. And Eddie Van Halen asked him, "What you want?" And he's recognizing the fact that I got the greatest white guitarist of all time right here at the time. All apologies to, Stevie Ray Vaughan. But he was like, do you?
Yeah.
And too often folks in that situation will try to get too involved in what an artist is. An artist is an artist. And some of the projects that I've had that have to do with design, whether it even be having to do with the BS3 logo or the Queen 3 and King graphics or the music, I didn't put Chico in a box. I told him, this is the thought, but go be you. You're great. Go do you. This is your area of expertise. This is your lane. Go bring it to life, So I think that's what made him great, is that he didn't overstep. He knew when to let people do what they did,
Right.
And I'm willing to bet there are a lot of people in his category who meddled in that a little bit too much,
Yeah. I think when you see somebody's greatness, you don't try to harness it. You don't try to limit it. You just say, hey, do what you do. And that's pretty much anybody that was involved. And they had the other guitarist. I don't remember his name, but he played on, I don't know if that was Thriller or what song that he played on, but anybody that was involved, even McCartney, and I mean, it was just seeing all the people that was involved in making this album. This was like a one of those albums where you have so much star power involved in it, like it can't go wrong.
Yeah. The Eddie Van Halen was on Beat It, and then later on, Slash came in, and I can't remember which. I'll look it up. Which song he did? I think. I'll look that up and see which one Slash played on.
Was he on the Black or White? I don't know.
That was my original thought.
I feel like it was a Black or White.
And he wanted him to play on Dangerous. So I'll have to look that up. So, but Slash is famous for being on stage with him on a couple of award shows and stuff like that.
Yeah. A-Trap, talk about the unique, the different sounds, him doing the ad-libs, like hearing the ad-libs, like when Will.i.am just singled off the ad-libs only. I mean, that's like, and that's stuff that we hear now. As Migos is doing that.
I mean, it truly shows the genius of him and Quincy Jones. Quincy Jones is an arranger, producer. He's a music man, so to speak. So this along with, you got basically, this album was a chemistry set, a chemistry project. We gonna put everything, we gonna layer this stuff, we're gonna put it together. I would go as far as to say, thanks to this album, this is why Apple Music, this is why a lot of studios, Dolph mentioned something last week when he went to Prince's house, Paisley Park. This is why people like Prince and Michael Jackson, this is why they're so successful. Dr. Dre now, and other people who, they know how, it's not that I made the best beat. This is not that I got the best rhyme. I have the best sound. And this is why Apple products excel. This, I will argue, I don't have any proof, opinion. This is A-Trapism, but I would argue this is why Apple is better than Microsoft and other entities, because they, look, I need you to hear Eddie Van Halen. I need you to hear Slash from Guns N' Roses. I need you to hear these vocals the way they come off. And last week when Doc mentioned that, I said, this is why Quincy Jones sounds so crisp. It's not about the tools that you use. It's about how you use the tools. And this was the best example of we need to do this. And people like true music lovers, they will tell you who, like one of the greatest music lovers I know is Big Illinois and his brother Mark. They know who played drums. They know who produced the song. They know what the studio was. And when they put this together, you can clearly see Quincy Jones said, folks going to hear the Slash is on here. They're going to hear the Eddie Van Halen is on here. And they don't even love Michael Jackson, but they love them, so they're going to come. Mm-hmm. We got the best backup people, so they're going to come. We got the best. He wasn't the best performer in the world, but he was the most electric human being. And at their point in his life, was he not the most electric human being in the room? So we got this guy. He got the vocals. He got the creativity. And I am the man. I am the orchestrator of this entire thing. And as I'm watching this documentary, I'm sitting there going, this is the great, everybody always say, hey, you see talk shows and you see artists go, when you hear this album, this is going to be my best work ever. This will be my best work ever. And they actually did it. I've never seen another instance where this is going to be the best work ever. And it actually worked. You listen to the album, you go, man, this is pretty dope. And then I always end up going, I thought you said it's going to be your best work ever. And it's like, it's just good. Yeah. So, but this.
Yeah, and I think this was during a time too where you were in the same room or you were in the same studio. Like now, you don't have to be in the same room. Like somebody can make the beat, send you the beat. You can just do the vocals and you send it back. Yeah. I think for me personally, I think the music is best made when everybody's in the same room.
Oh,
like when you think about that Nas and like Hit Boy run that they had with them 6 albums, they were in the same room. Hit Boy would do something creative. Nas would be, all right, I can do this. And so when you look at how this album was put together, everybody was there, and it wasn't like I'm just gonna send my stuff in. I'm gonna mail mine in.
Right.
So I think that also contributed to, how great this album was.
Yeah, you can pass the blunt a lot better when you're in the same room. So I've heard.
So it's true, pretty much.
But let's talk a little bit about, we talking about the information in the documentary and who Michael Jackson was and how Thriller impacted. But let's talk a little bit about the technical aspect of this documentary. One of the things that I noticed is when they first started this documentary, you had Mary J. Blige come out, Usher, Brooke Shields, Maxwell, Raphael Sadiq, Will I Am. And did you notice they didn't put their names under their first appearance? Mm-hmm. They didn't put their names under their first appearance until they came back the next time and started talking. I thought from a creative standpoint, that's different than most documentaries do it. Most documentaries do it to where the first time you see a person, that's when you get their name and you never get it again. Right. This time they showed you them making some comments, no name, no anything. Now, that was interesting creatively for me. And it was interesting from a standpoint that these people are so big, you don't need their damn name.
Yeah, you don't need that.
Right.
When you see Mary J, you know.
Yeah, you already know what's up.
Yeah, but I thought that was interesting creatively. And I thought, that, forget the guy's name, but I thought that was, really well done and an interesting take on doing that.
Yeah. All right, so let's get into one of the songs, "The Girl Is Mine," which that was the lead single with him and Paul McCartney.
The girl is mine.
and people were saying that they thought Paul McCartney wrote that, but Michael did, which I'm not surprised. But that was a heavy hitter, obviously, during that time. So "The Girl Is Mine" it's not really one of my probably favorite songs off of Thriller, but I think that was kind of the star power. This is like the big feature that you get, kind of on your debut album type thing.
Yeah,
but touch on that.
Yeah, Paul McCartney is a Beatle. And there's so many aspects of that you can look at, and see the drawing power, see the fact that not only did Paul McCartney accept that invitation, but you could tell in the footage, not only did he accept it, he was into it,
He was excited.
So they already respected Mike from a creative, from a musician standpoint, from a engineering standpoint, from a design standpoint. They respected the hell out of it, but they was talking back and forth, so a lot of times people will stifle each other's talent because they may be offended by their flow. You can tell they were just flowing, so it doesn't get any bigger than that when you get somebody like Paul McCartney. For God's sake, he's a doggone Beatle,
Right. Yeah. And then when you go over to Beat It, and just the choreography and the creativity and everything that was included in that. And then, having, certain people in the video that were actually gang members, which I didn't know that either. They said they had Vatos, Bloods, Crips, and all of that. But A-Trap, talk about that video and just the impact again that he had on all cultures. It wasn't just women, it wasn't just guys, it was some everybody.
Yeah, I remember Beat It. I remember more than any other video in the world because they played the grooves off that album. With Beat It. Beat It was everywhere. And we've spoken about this on our program before. This predates Separate. This is the end of the separation of the music. Remember, we did We Are the World. We Are the World separated music. And Beat It, I can remember people, after Beat It, as Dog referenced earlier, I can remember post Beat It and pre-Beat It. You didn't,
That's what she said.
This is not what we're talking about in regards to black and white music. It was just Michael Jackson. The video took over the world. The sound took over the world. And looking back, I'm actually shocked that black folks like to Beat It as much as they did, because it is a true rock
and roll. Oh, yeah.
But it is the line of demarcation of when they separated the music, because when you are in control, when you wicked the way people are at the top, you want to separate things. Music is something that you cannot separate. People are going to love, and this was the beginning of the end.
Yeah.
And so.
Yeah, and I agree with J-Trap, but shame on you and I for being surprised that black folks Beat It because it was a pure rock and roll song. We invented rock and roll. You understand? So we shouldn't be surprised that we liked the rock and roll song. Shit, we started it,
Yeah, I mean, I love Tower of Power, all that stuff. But I'm just, from what you're right. I can't refute one word that you said, but I'm looking from 54 back. I remember Smells Like Teen Spirit, Nirvana was the last song. The last song that was like a universal national hit.
Yeah.
Or maybe just be too old to understand that BJ might be liking the stuff too. My son, 31 years old. But that's when they started separating, because I know sometimes I feel like I don't have a problem. I know those words to Red Hot Chili Pepper and those songs, but that's when they start separating us, because you can't separate a community, meaning a country, if
like you said before, music didn't have a color. You guys just listen. You were just listening to who came on the radio, who was dropping what. It wasn't black music, white music, or what the racial lines that were there. But like you said, they just started kind of dividing things and splitting things. You just listen like, oh man, okay, it's Crosby, Stills, and Nash or something like that. Whoever.
Yeah,
I mean, good music was good music.
Yeah.
That ain't work. That's the way you do it. Money for nothing.
So poetic.
Wait, no, hey, whoops.
I'm telling you, man. Yeah, when Dire Straits came out, man, you knew what was going on.
Yeah. But talk about Beat It, Wilkes.
Oh man, Beat It was epic. It was. For me, I felt like, man, the outfit he's wearing, the shirt he's wearing, it was very like rebel-like. I mean, even when he jumped out of the bed, he got, you know what? I ain't gonna take this shit. I'm gonna take care of some business. Karate Kid was big at this time. I mean, you got, like he said, you've got what Beat Street was going on. You had graffiti was happening. The games was going on. The Warriors was just kind of coming down off the high. I mean, it was definitely one of those videos that I loved. And then, of course, just the dancing and the fight scene that was kind of Broadway-esque or whatever. But
exactly,
Michael with his
side story.
Yeah, man. So no, I love Beat It. Beat It video is my stuff right there, man. That song right there is, oh man, that guitar rip, you just cannot get away from just the style of that video. I love it.
Yeah. It's definitely one of those.
I remember going to high school. And Duncan remember this TV show called Fame was on.
Yeah.
High school. I was waiting on the dance thing happening in my house. I
wasn't watching the reruns, but yes.
Yeah. Fame used to come on, I think, after A Different World or after Cosby or something.
Or 21 Jump Street.
Something like that. It used to come on. I never watched it. Once they started that theme song.
I was reruns for me by that time. Well, I don't know. Fame lasted a while, but But yeah, all that stuff was huge. So, like they said, Michael knew how to incorporate that into his music.
Yeah.
And Prince turned down being the lead rival in that video. Because of the song, the words that it start, your butt is mine. And as soon as you heard that, you're like, shit,
Prince was like,
who butt? I'm out.
Yeah, but
they put Wesley Snipes in it, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think he was there.
Just imagining what that would look like with those two.
Yeah.
It would have crazy.
It would have wisely backed out of that.
Yeah.
One thing I forgot to touch on the child, you talked about him transitioning from group to solo. Is another thing that he was transitioning or struggling with was reaching puberty, and I never, that's another reason why I gave this documentary some extra points, is because I never considered the angle of child star becoming an adult with Mike, right? And he talked about that, somebody talked about that party he was at where people were coming in, where's Michael? Yeah. And they were walking right by him, because he wasn't that little kid that he thought he was. And they were like, so Mike was like, that's who they like, that's who they here for, they don't like me as me, so that was the beginning of his journey of self doubt, and self-criticism and whatnot, and he was breaking out and all that. And I just thought that was a unique angle for this whole thing, is that I reached puberty. People didn't want Michael for Michael, they wanted me for the ABC, Michael,
Right.
So I thought that was fascinating.
Yeah, no, I agree. And we've seen, numerous artists go through that stage where I'm not a kid, I want to be known as an actual artist and not just a childhood star. And
groups as New Edition, but famously a lot of females go through that when they're getting out of that teen, especially when they were teens, when they start hitting and they feel like they got to come out and do some sexy album, to show that I'm a woman now, or whatever. You see that a lot with them.
So want to be starting something that mama say mama mama kusa. Like now when I look this up, I'm seeing different stuff saying it means different things. And Michael was like, it don't mean
nothing, just sing it. It don't mean nothing, just sing it.
And another detail is everybody that either worked with him or talked to him, they did his voice. Like John Landis did.
I didn't know the Walters group was his backup singers of choice, that he liked using a lot, but he said, because y'all sound like me, so it was an easy, and those were the people who asked him, well, what does this mean, Michael? We gonna be singing? It don't mean nothing, just sing it.
Well,
I'm sure through the years people put their own interpretation on it, probably.
Right. I seen you shaking your head. So does that have
it was for years, people, like you said, I've looked at stuff that said he got it from an African tribe. Jermaine them, they said they got it from Africa. He's saying it don't mean nothing. And so it is interesting how, and we'll never know.
Right.
True. All right. So Billie Jean walking down the street with the lighted.
Now wait a minute, before we get off that. Y'all haven't heard the thing where it says, I'm gonna tell you one more time, I'm not gonna stop. I'm gonna tell you one more time, I'm not gonna stop. I'm gonna tell you one more time, I'm not gonna stop.
Wow.
You ain't heard that?
I ain't heard that one.
Which it could have been that, and he just
it's not saying I'm gonna say I'm a side, I'm gonna tell you one more time, I'm not gonna stop. I'm gonna tell you one more time, I'm not gonna stop.
When you think of his ad libs and all of that, it could have started off as that, and you just could have changed it. But
I wouldn't doubt it.
Yeah, there's a video out there going around, and that's what he's saying. Not mama save, I'm a side, I'm I'm gonna tell you one more time, I'm not gonna stop. I'm gonna tell you. And when you think about it, it makes sense.
Right.
Considering the song, it fits in.
Right. It makes sense. So Billie Jean, and I think the importance of Billie Jean is that video.
She's just a girl. Claimed it
MTV refused to play it, and then that's when, and that was kind of around the same time with Prince, and then you had the Warner Records guy come in and say, hey, you need to play this, or we gonna pull some of these other artists that I have.
Walter
what kinda
Yetnikoff
kicked it
is
off.
his name.
Yeah, he ain't playing, man.
And you had it. That's why Bowie is so great. I know right off the bat. I don't even need to ask Wilkes. I know Wilkes is a Bowie fan. And
I got Bowie Van high tops.
Yeah, and stuff like this. Bowie, if you pay attention to Bowie's career, Bowie done always been with the brothers, man. That
Always.
cat is
Always.
well known for advocating for brothers, working for brothers, man. You know, and he was the one that was saying, I don't understand why they are not on there.
And how cool and simple he was about the question. He's like, look, I need to ask a question, man.
Mm-hmm.
Why are there no black artists on your program?
But you notice it took both of them are foreigners, Bowie and Yetnikoff.
Yeah.
It took foreigners to go to MTV, heavy hitting foreigners to go to them.
Big, yeah.
Because they saw it differently.
Music. Yeah.
They saw it differently than American white folks saw it.
Right. Absolutely.
Don't sleep on that.
And he helped out Luther. You remember we did the Luther documentary, and Luther was singing background for him, and I would imagine him and Prince probably maybe had some type of connection, maybe work together or something. So, I mean, the guy definitely was a huge ally for our music, and he cared. So but man, Billie Jean, that video, which is A-Trap.
Oh no, I was just being silly. I'm gonna put it in the group chat.
Yeah, something there.
But that was ahead of his time, you know, having those steps light up and him kind of walking down the street, and it was like every single song had its own story, had its own vibe to it, and sometimes a lot of albums just, you know that the theme of this album is this, and all the songs kind of had the same theme. This was just each song was different, had its own story, and that's what also made this album great, because it wasn't just one form of music, it wasn't just one type. But A-Trap, talk about Billie Jean.
Billie Jean has an interesting story here in Chicago. It's a dude who stepped up and said he wrote the song, and he ended up in court with Michael. Michael had to literally sit at the I won't say a podium, at the bench or whatever they call it.
The witness stand.
The witness stand. I ain't been to court, so I don't know. But he said at the witness stand and created a song. He was like, "No, this is my song." So
we should have asked Bill Gillenois what it was called. He knows shit.
Gillenois,
Been there a few times.
Oh man,
He knows exactly what it's called.
It's an interesting song. It was like you said, the video. This is when videos again. This is the dude, like one of those people. Michael Jackson and Prince during this period. Michael Jackson, Prince. I would even go as far as say Cyndi Lauper and Boy George. They made videos. You like the video more than you like the song. You learn.
Papa don't preach. Jump come to mind when you say that.
Huge.
Girls just want to have fun. It's the videos, man. Shit, I wasn't no girl, but I was singing harder than anybody. Shit, we girls just want to have fun.
Yeah. It was just he set it off though. This dude, this is one of those people like when you say, "Hey man, these young players in sports, they need to thank those old guys for setting the trend." Every time you get paid, you need to send a couple of dollars to the Jackson people.
Yeah,
right.
When they talk about the doors that Thriller opened, they use such numbers as 10 million video creations today on TikTok feature Thriller music. 2 billion likes, 17 billion views on TikToks that feature Thriller music today.
Right.
So that's going to tell you the impact today from an album that came out in 1982. So
that was crazy to hear, because obviously TikTok is the biggest probably social media platform right now. Yeah. And to hear that Thriller and Michael has that big of an influence on that, which TikTok is a big music platform, dancing music and stuff like that. So, man, that to have that part in here, I think solidifies the influence.
Because to this day, you literally have people like they want to dance like Michael. They want to emulate that magic and those moves. It's like he cannot. To this day. But yeah, I mean, it's from cartoons to commercials to sitcoms. I don't care if it's a comedy stand-up. Somebody's busting a Michael Jackson move real quick, or a reference, or something.
Isn't it amazing how much K-pop?
Yeah.
When they went over that segment,
crazy.
Like BTS, they moves are all Michael Jackson moves. They're showing it.
It's like the foundation of if you want to be a group, if you want to make it, this is the line, this is the bar.
And Polo G, because of him showing the respect, I love when new rappers show respect to old cats like that. So now it's got me wanting to go check out Polo G stuff, you know?
Yeah.
I haven't.
Yeah. Shout out to Ron. Ron says, was Mickey Howard and Michael involved? Her son looks like his family. Mickey Howard's nickname was Billy.
Come on, man. Stop it. What? Mike ain't bust a grape in a fruit factory with a fat lady on his back, man. What you talking about?
Right on, my bro.
Yeah, getting involved, that wasn't his thing. That was not. He brought Brooke Shields just because.
He ain't knocking out Brooke Shields, man. I don't know what to tell you. I mean, he ain't got time.
That was his friend. That was it. It was in the friend zone.
Yeah, that's Jermaine, baby.
Probably.
But speaking of that, you know, in one of these things, they said Michael Jackson was sexy when he was wearing all this stuff. Like, Michael, I don't know if Mike done ever been considered no sex symbol.
Yeah.
Shit. To vanilla white girl.
Mike,
you telling me a sister, you know a sister out there that used to think Michael Jackson was sexy. After Off the Wall.
Yeah, I mean, up until Bad, he was a sex symbol. Then that's when he came back super pale with the extra pointy nose, and he was looking kind of way different.
I'll even give you Thriller.
Brown Michael Jackson.
I'll even give you
the ladies like brown like Michael Jackson.
Yeah, that's it. After Thriller.
Yeah,
that's it.
Because I mean,
I know better than me.
You go through the locker rooms at Lincoln Park High School. Don't ask me how I know. And what's that school? Girls had Michael Jackson in locker.
If there are any women watching right now, please comment if you thought Michael Jackson was sexy. If you're of an age, I know Keisha was old enough. Any Michael Jackson, Theodora, that would be a good one. Blue Streak Freak. Trey Naturals, did y'all think Michael Jackson was sexy? If so, run it down for us. Poetic sins.
All the girls were crying. That's why he could come out to the audience.
I said, pasty white girls. Put Mika comment up there.
She said, I love Mike with all my heart. Never have I ever said
exactly because I think they appreciated his
uncle auntie.
I think they just appreciated his talents and they were for what he produced and what the showmanship. I don't know. I don't remember any. I mean, like I said, not refuting what
he made more white girls faint than Benny Hinn. Hell, I know that.
That special jacket.
With that jacket.
Ain't that who you said Benny Hinn?
Yeah, he didn't have to
blow on
him.
He had that magic jacket, man. That jacket.
This dude was doing WWE type moves in the pulpit. Yeah, man, get out of here, man.
Body slamming in the name of the Lord. Man. Get out of here, man. Dude was crazy, man. What he doing?
What's up to on Facebook, Big Illinois? Give us a thumbs up. RC Blue Street, thank you for the likes.
We got some courtroom questions. We need you to stay tuned. So when we got questions, you got answers.
And you know, but I agree with Doc. I think it was a lot of white girls, man. And when they was doing those interviews, I mean, it wasn't a lot of us. Now we was there, but we wasn't there on the front.
There was a couple, but you know, when you talk about, you know, across the board where nobody would deny it, you know, like ain't nobody gonna deny Denzel. That's never gonna be debated. Billy D. Williams. Didn't nobody debate that. It's like that's what it was. But shit, you got to scrape and scrap to find some substance that Mike was.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't think Mike was on that level, man.
Yeah. I could be wrong.
Yeah, all the ladies in the chat. Jump in, give us your.
Were y'all familiar with Rod Temperton before this?
No.
No.
Okay, Rod Temperton is a name you need to know. That cat brought songs so on Thriller. I want to say about half those songs are songs he brought to Mike and Quincy. One of them may have been. Hang on, let me pull up because I took screenshots of these playlists between the two of them. One of them might have been "Rock with You" on Off the Wall.
Yeah. When you look at the track list, Thriller, "Baby Be Mine," "The Lady in My Life." His name is on there as the writer.
There you go. Yeah, Rod Temperton was a bad white boy. He was. Without him, he was. Yeah, and they flew him in from overseas, so that was a Quincy Jones connect. And then Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis. You can't tell the story of Michael Jackson without saying the name Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis.
Or the Jackson family.
Yeah.
Janet, you can't. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mika said, "Aunt's voice was too soft for me."
I was gonna get it.
Yeah. She's like, "No, I ain't with it."
Hey, baby.
Hey, but he had that pimp voice.
But the Bards had voices like that, and they thought they were sexy.
Nah,
the Bards and Switch.
It was high yellow though, with the pretty hair though. That was
ain't no love for the yellow skin.
Oh, there's and I don't know if y'all seen this.
Wow, that's yellow on yellow crime right there.
Hey, man. No love.
But you saying that, man?
No love, man. Ain't no love, G.
That red bone on red bone crime, nigga. What you talking about?
Yeah, man. Drive by, man. Go ahead.
But there's a DeBarge documentary, but it's not what you think. It's the two brothers that were in the group. They actually live in like a trailer, and it's a documentary with those two interviewing them, sitting down. I think one of them's in a wheelchair. I don't know if it's out already, but
I wish y'all familiar with the group Switch?
Yeah.
Okay, if you can't, man, I'd love a documentary that talked about Switch, DeBarge, and Shalimar and the connections.
That's huge.
I'd love to see that, man.
That's huge right there.
I'd love to see that.
And they had, amazing. I think Switch was on the unsung of DeBarge.
They had unsung.
Should have.
Let's see them come on.
In fact, one of my favorite songs of all time, like my favorite at the very top of my list, is a Switch song, "There'll Never Be." That is my favorite song of all time. If you want to tell the story of me, if you want people to know half of everything you need to know about me in my life, play Switch, "There'll Never Be," and they'll understand half of what you need to know about me.
Yeah. That was one of the biggest songs.
Hey. Yeah. "There'll Never Be," "I Want to Be With You," the
and the intro of that song, I was thinking, you ever gonna call me? You ever gonna
Yeah,
that's the classic. That's the classic.
I Call Your Name.
I Call Your Name.
Yeah, that's the classic one too.
Yeah,
that was when they used to talk in the intro.
Back then, I'm a grown man now, baby.
But yeah, baby.
You still sound like a little boy though.
Yeah, it still sound like a little boy.
The drug usage. Switch was so bad had it not been for drug usage, man.
Yeah,
that took a couple of them out. But again, I guess that tells the story of a lot of black artists back in the day,
Yeah.
But if it wasn't for drug usage, man, ain't no Switch could have been.
Hey, drug use and not reading the contract,
right?
And realizing,
and needing something to get over,
right? Exactly.
Yeah.
All right. So the Motown 25 show, which was obviously huge, and Michael's continued road to stardom. And when he did Billie Jean,
I still get chills when I watch that today. If we were to put that on right now,
Right.
I still get chills when the Jackson 5 go off and he do it by himself.
Yeah.
And he was just in his like Wilk say in his lane. He was just like, this is me. Y'all gonna see everything. He tried to do every possible move he had.
Right.
He was moving left to right.
Yeah,
like,
I'm a showman.
He was ready for that moment.
When he just freeze when he first come out on stage and he just freeze and don't say nothing.
Right.
And the crowd just going nuts because I'm just standing here. And then I'm gonna make one move and just change my pose. But I'm gonna stay like this for about 60 seconds, and then I'm gonna change it again and just stay like this. And every time y'all scream louder and louder.
Right. You know, it's so interesting to me.
The beat drop.
Because after that, he said Fred Astaire had called him, and like
that's right.
Congratulated, like, man. Because when I think about Michael Jackson, I think to me, because I grew up watching these shows or movies with my mom, like Anchors Away, My Boy, and Singing in the Rain.
Was he sexy, Trey Naturals? Was he sexy? That's what I need to know. She said he was fine.
That's one.
But we started off with that cartoon comment. I was starting to think you didn't think he was. Yeah.
What happened?
No, I said when she put the cartoon comment, I thought that was her saying like, nah, he was more.
I got you. Yeah. Yeah, Mike was definitely a student of, I don't know, like ballet, but just theatrical dancing, just dancing, period. The art of dancing and trying to cross those things. I mean, he was trying to cross everything, music and just his style of movement and how he could glide across. You know, if he saw the greats before him gliding across the stage, I'm sure he was pretty much like, man, how can I incorporate some of these, especially in that moment. Of course, I was too young to remember, but thank God there were videos and YouTube and your uncle recording over your stories, trying to get Michael Jackson on VHS. But amazing. I mean, that moment, like Doc said, it's to me superhero activated again. Just crazy.
This is just one of those artists, like we did with everyone we did in this series. They're just in that rare form of artists, rare air. Yeah. They work harder than everybody. And he's like, I want every song on this album to be a hit. Not 5 like that. That's not acceptable. So when he came out here, and I like how they had the choreographers kind of point out like the moves and how he was doing it and the still frame shots. And I'm like,
there were 5 silhouettes in that one performance.
Right.
And the artist would be lucky to have one silhouette in their entire career. He had 5 in one performance.
Right.
That are iconic silhouettes. Yeah. If you had to pick a Michael Jackson pose that you was going to put up in some Hall of Fame or somewhere, it would be such a difficult decision.
Yeah.
Do you do the hair? Do you do the glove? I mean, the crotch grab? Do you do the leg kick? Yeah. What do you do?
Right.
And then having Misty Copeland, who's a ballet dancer, having her on here and talking about how some of the things that he did, standing on his toes, the kick, like what that meant to her as a kid. So I mean, like we're talking about just different forms of music, dance, and everything. Mika says, now that's when I lose it. You're not gonna come out here and just stand and I'll start crying. I do every time. Yeah. Man, and like the music writer or critic, I think he was. I mean, people was taking their wigs off. People was dancing, and they were like, "Hold on, everybody, the show's not over. We need y'all to calm down."
But even when he was doing it, they were showing dudes out in the audience screaming and yelling and stuff. Right. He just standing there. Like brother lost their cool.
Yeah, right.
And I don't know whether it was a Super Bowl or what when he shot up. Like they shot him up on stage and he shot up like 3 feet in there and then landed and stood.
Yeah.
Like he used light to his advantage, shadows and all that to make a silhouette and stuff like that.
Yeah. Trey Natural says, them songs, I thought he was singing to me.
Later.
He was. He wanted you to go out and get that out.
He was.
Yeah. So, I mean, that show was obviously huge for him. People recording it, going back and watching it.
Mm.
And then, you know, when they said who, I guess the person that was doing the interview said, well, who came on after Michael? It was like, I don't know. It don't even matter.
Yeah.
Whoever it was.
But Fred Astaire, when Fred Astaire called him, he had told him, I done watched it 2 or 3 times already, man. You know.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But they made a comment. They said Michael Jackson changed space and time. You know, like when he walked, and they said they was asking, was the floors rigged?
Yeah.
You know, what the hell?
Yeah.
You know, and we ain't even got to the lean. We ain't even got to the lean
Right.
yet.
Yeah.
And how many ankles done been broke trying to do that shit?
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. But the moonwalk, I mean, like all the moves he did, he wanted to let people know that I'm here. And then when it's all said and done, I'm gonna be one of the greats.
Man, Usher and MC Hammer and them trying to challenge Mike. Sit down.
Sit your black ass down.
Sit down somewhere.
Sit down somewhere. Yeah.
Get it.
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, yeah, whoever came on after him,
it doesn't matter.
I don't know what you would have did if it was the Temptations. It wouldn't have worked.
It was boring after that.
I think it was the Temptations actually.
Oh, really?
I think
everybody taking intermission. Like, I need to go get some snacks and come back.
Yeah.
And come back and sit down.
Yeah.
All right. So before we continue on, we're going to get into the preview for next week. So we'll be right back in just a minute.
Do you believe in the concept of black genius?
Black genius?
Wow.
Sly and the Family Stone. It can't be overstated how massively popular they were.
Sly created this unique space.
At that time, the mixed group was a new thing. Guys and girls and black and white. So you get all that input.
They sounded like nothing else sounds. Everybody wanted him
to bring people together. This country was tearing itself apart.
I was scared. At the time, it was almost too much all at once.
You were at the place that every musician wants to be. You get there, and you blow it.
The world's watching you, analyzing you.
But you might be moving up too fast. Yeah.
Sly was kind of the first black artist to go through that so publicly.
The anxiety, the pressure, the drug use. He was an underdog. You are exceptionally gifted. But at the same time, none of that protects you.
If you're Sly Stone, there is no blueprint for what comes next. Oh my God.
If you've been on this heightened, explosive life, your body has taken in so much energy. You've given out so much energy. And you stop. Where's that energy go?
Thank you.
Man, I'm not gonna be here next week.
Oh,
and I was so looking forward to this one.
That's gonna be a heavy one.
I mean, we could switch it up. We could do.
Do we need to move it?
We could do Prince. We could do Purple Rain.
I don't want to miss that either. Shit.
Throwback. You can't miss the throwback.
Do that Alice movie again. Shit. So I don't care nothing about that.
He definitely not doing that one again. Or we can do the Blue Chippers, the thing with the guy we met at the Super Bowl week.
Isn't there a basketball documentary?
Yeah, you can do that. I don't give a shit about that.
But man, I'm looking forward to that. Man, Sly and the Family Stone. Sly.
Yeah, I started it. It's pretty good.
Man.
And I can just tell that's gonna make me hungry for more stuff in that era, man.
Yeah.
And just continue, just like it's the summer of soul. Like that one documentary. I think to a man, all of us would say out of all the movies we've done, that one would make our all-time list. If we had a 10 top 10 list or whatever of all-time movies we've done, I'm sure some or so would have to be very, very
especially for me with Sly and the Family Stone. You know, the way what I've read or what I've heard or what the last song that he had recorded is kind of like, you know, is this it? You know, is he going to continue, or unfortunately they're going their separate ways? But I'd be curious to see like why it got to that point. I didn't read. I don't know. Maybe H-Rap knows, but I didn't read into why or whatever. But
Clive Davis.
What's that?
The devil Clive Davis.
Oh, strikes again. Yeah. Because they say if you that song, I don't know if it's the proper title, but if you want me to stay, what's that?
Clive Davis just gave him and George Clinton their royalty money.
Like did he?
He
had George Clinton's
last 5 to 7 years.
Wow.
Oh, I didn't even think okay, because I just heard something on it recently about him. You know, that being a problem still with George Clinton.
Yeah,
he owned his royalties.
If you watch the unsung on Parliament Funkadelic and Sly Stone, you'll see it. Yeah. They literally show you a picture of the doctored document.
Wow,
this dude is a snake.
He's the devil, man.
Wow.
I hope his boyfriend infected him.
Yeah. Poison
hit him with them 2 letters, man.
All right, so man, next week Sly lives, aka the burden of Black Genius, and he got Black scratched out. And man, like I said, shout out to Questlove, man. He's been this Summer Soul. Yeah, he's been definitely working on some great work. Man. Appreciate him. All right, so Human Nature, which somebody mentioned it was one of their favorite songs.
That's my jam, man.
Yeah. Talk about that.
It's just how he describes, you know, from each lyric of the song. It's like how he's just painting a picture of, you know, I got to be out there, I got to get among the people, but yet, you know, she's there, she's watching me, I'm watching her, but it's like he's just got to be a part of what is going on. I can't stay within the confines of this room. The melody, just the arrangement. I mean, it's just got and then of course, once again, the ad libs that they talked about. He's doing the ad libs at the end. It's just, man, it's an amazing song. And for them to show that clip where he says, "I want to perform one of my favorite songs," and the look on his face was like, I gotta sing this song live right now. But it's once again, I know it sounds corny, but it's like Michael Jackson magic again. You know, it's like superhero status activate. You know, so Human Nature is my jam. That is, I love Billie Jean. I love Beat It, Thriller. You know, and Got Me Working. I love all those, but it's just something about Human Nature, and even the Lady of My Life. I like those jams too. But even off the other album, Invincible, it's some heaters on the Invincible album.
Yeah,
that they didn't play.
In, man, he was.
So, but Human Nature is my jam, man, and I'm glad it made the album. Now I'm curious about Carousel because I've never heard that song.
Yeah. Me either. But that got booted. Yeah. I don't know if Carousel would have matched up with.
I don't think so.
They could use that on the soundtrack or something.
I'll have to see if it's on YouTube somewhere because I never heard that song. It, of course, like I said, it didn't make the cut.
Hey, Will.
You were gonna say something?
Yeah.
No, about Human Nature is just, you know, we've heard this before. Stay in the pocket, right? You know, and oftentimes artists don't stay in the pocket with their songs and let them develop. Human Nature, he let it develop and let it breathe. You know.
Yeah.
Which I believe is what gave it some of its impact and effect. You know, he just stayed in the pocket, took his time with it, didn't rush through it. You know, just let it speak for itself, so to speak.
Right.
H-Rap had a comment.
I was going to ask you, what did you think about that list that came out that said "Lady in My Life" was the worst song on the album?
I couldn't believe it. I was like, I don't know how.
It wasn't no worse songs on the album.
I was like, what?
Hang on, let me look at it.
To me, I would think it would be The Girl Is Mine. Because it's like kind of, but you got Paul McCartney. So yeah, we don't want that. Yeah. Whatever, man.
Yeah,
what about Baby Be Mine? That would be a candidate over The Lady in My Life for sure.
I would think.
Yeah, now The Lady in My Life. I put it above The Girl Is Mine and Baby Be Mine.
Man said, "Don't you go nowhere, girl." Man, I saw that. I was like, "What are you talking about?" I'm like, "Really? Who put the list together?" This is the Stephen A. Smith list. Get out of here.
My bad. I seen Rhonda. It's Rhonda. Okay. Appreciate you, Rhonda.
Help me, Rhonda. Help me,
Rhonda.
His song "Man in the Mirror." I love this song.
Yeah.
Oh, I remember when he did that on what was it, American Music Awards or something like that. That was hot.
I believe so.
Yeah. Man, endless hits.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you one of the creepy videos though. I think it's black and white when they changing their faces and shit like that.
That's an AI right there.
That was like that. That was like that.
The Chinese lady, an Asian lady turned into a black man and shit. You know, like what the hell?
I'm like, what the hell? Yeah, that's that deep fake right there, bro.
Hey, that was like that Kendrick Lamar. What was that like? Heart 5, but it was smoother than
right.
You know, it's like
he had those subtle changes.
30 years later. So I mean, Nigga says I'm with Jermaine Dupri. What idiot would say that? I just listened to "Lady in My Life" this morning.
That's what I'm saying. Like what?
It was really. It's one of them albums. You know, they always talk about no skips. You know, what's an album with no skips? This was it. You could listen to this album.
True.
Yeah, no skips.
All facts.
Private chat, $5.99.
Yep.
All right, so Thriller, which they saved this one for last as far as going over the songs and man, just the different way, ways of putting this together. John Landis, who really was pushing Michael as well to be, his best. The horror film guy was at something Baker. I mean, like everybody that was involved in this, and sound like he paid for this his own money, right? Because it seemed like
because he wanted a certain production, and they were like, we can't cover that.
Yeah, so, like we already did everything we could with this, and he's like, nah, you got to come out with this one.
And then you got John Landis involved, some of the greatest movies,
right. And this was a short film,
right?
And then when they were talking about putting Thriller together, the different sounds that they were working on, and obviously his ad libs and everything was, and like they talked about, this is played every Halloween, every at a haunted house is probably on the playlist.
Yeah, you got one of the most iconic voices in horror films, Vincent Price, to do the laugh at the end.
At 70.
Yeah, man. That laugh.
Now, what this made me think of, though, is also the machine that Michael Jackson had behind him, and has had behind him since day one, versus the machine or lack thereof that Prince didn't have behind him.
Yeah.
He was more independent. So, as far as I was concerned, it put Prince's accomplishments in a whole nother category because he didn't have a machine behind him.
Yeah, right.
It was him.
Because Prince, we saw that he'd been proving himself since he was young. So it was, like, okay, I'm gonna do this. Nah, turn your guy down. Nah, we get it.
Yeah, and the fact that nobody wanted this video, but him, like people we were coming to, there was like, nah, man, you don't need to do this. But
you want to turn into a what?
When you're in that rarest air, it doesn't matter. You got to do what you what's in your heart and what you think is best. A-Trap, touch on that, Thriller.
No, it was an event. I remember this came on Friday night videos. Everybody's crowded around the TV. It was an event. I remember people stopped from going outside to kick it to stop and watch this video. Then they went to sleep. I would have loved to have seen this in a social media age. How this would have, like they say, this would have broke Twitter.
Yeah, it broke the internet for sure.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And it's another example of him using all the people in the world who draw attention to himself. So he gonna take your light, Vincent Price. I'm gonna take your light and make your fans look at me, Star Wars guy. Your people gonna pay attention to me.
Right.
Super music, Quincy Jones. Your people gonna pay attention to me, and my people gonna pay attention to me, and it's probably why this is the #1 selling album in the history of the world.
Yeah. I mean, even the graphic we have in the background is pretty bad. I'm kind of jealous I don't have that in the game room. It's a pretty badass graphic. And kind of Michael knows he's a badass.
Yeah, really. Yeah. Let me pull it up here. I think I got it over here. Yeah, you got that one.
Yep. And then
they were locking in that.
Yeah, man. They in it.
And then this one here.
Yeah, that's it right there, man. I need that in the game room, man.
Man, and that jacket.
Yeah, that jacket's hot, man.
Did any of y'all have that jacket?
I had the Thriller jacket. I had it. My mom's, I don't know how she got it, but I had it.
They didn't have them in my size, so I'm like,
oh man.
They ain't got no damn 3X Thriller jackets. They came in small, medium, and medium, and that's it.
Levine's my nigga.
Yeah, man. And then we that album cover, man, with the tiger on there, man. That was
he too smooth. I'm telling you, he got those Miami Vice. See what I'm telling you, man.
Yeah, with the small skinny belt and the man.
My man knows what's going on. Man.
Dropping down.
But
yeah, obviously, man, one of the greatest albums of all time. And when you watch this, you see the work that they put into it. I wish they would have said how long it took them to make the album, which I don't think they said it, but I would imagine months.
Yeah.
Or maybe even a year or years, but not years, but maybe a year or so. But let's talk about the Pepsi commercial. And again, man, Michael was not dumb as far as when it came to what he cared about. He was like, I don't drink Pepsi, so you can't have me in this for what it said.
You're not gonna make money off me.
4 seconds.
30 seconds at a time. Yeah.
You can't have me holding it either. So the guy was a shrewd businessman, and even he owned Masters. I don't remember exact. I think he owned Beatles, right? Was that what
he owned 50% of Sony's catalog.
Yeah. McCartney they kind of fell out because he wouldn't give the rights up to the Beatles.
Yeah.
Michael's like, nah, man. The girl's mine, nigga. Did you hear the music? Yeah.
The music is too, sucker.
Right. You didn't hear what? Yeah, you forgot.
I wonder if he got paid off them Burns. Somebody had to write him a check, didn't they?
Oh, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah. Him or Joe.
Wasn't Pepsi promoting that tour? So I'm sure Pepsi broke him off.
Yeah, somebody wrote a check.
Oh, you got a new feature that
somebody got a thumbs up. I didn't do it.
Oh, that was weird.
Nice.
But yeah, and so this was big for sponsorships for artists. I don't know before. I can't really speak to before, but I'm sure after artists getting Pepsi deals, Coke, whatever the products were. And so he was again setting that standard again. Anybody want to touch on that?
This was an awesome pitch, man. I mean, this dude had action figures. This dude, they just selling them all corny. I mean, they selling those gloves.
You say Big T?
E.T., man.
I thought you said Big T. Like, damn, Big T. Like, what was that?
Yeah.
They selling the gloves. I mean, this dude capitalized on everything he could. Right. And like you said, this is around the time he started purchasing those
right.
Really,
the catalogs. Masters.
Yeah, he started purchasing those catalogs. And according to him, I've seen documentation that Berry Gordy told him to start doing it. And they was probably buying, just think about this, man. Michael Jackson probably buying catalogs for $200,000 and $300,000 that are worth $200 and $300 million now.
Yeah.
Right. I can believe it.
I understand. I mean, he was a genius. He was eccentric. melancholy years.
Yeah, he even owned the Elephant Man Bones for a little while.
Yeah, he did have, yep.
Yeah, so this is the dude who's on top of his business. I mean, just think about this. A few years before he died, he was trying to buy Marvel's catalog.
Really?
If Michael Jackson purchases that and lives, he printing money now.
Right.
You think of what they've made over the past 10 years?
Right, exactly.
So,
just off the first interview.
He was not only a musical genius, he was business savvy, and contrary to popular belief, his family are very socially active. They are extremely pro-black. So you know they get the moniker of changing their faces, and they're not, but they are the total opposite.
Hey, rest in peace, Tito recently passed.
Well, you know they pro-black with all the Jerry curl activating shit they purchased in their lifetime. Yeah, they can't help. They probably single-handedly put Soft Sheen Carson on the map. Shit, are you kidding me?
Just let your soul glow.
Yeah, they pro-black. Shit.
But I have a question for you guys. What are your thoughts on Joe Jackson and his management style? Because at the end of the day, in my opinion, Joe Jackson cost his family hundreds of millions of dollars with his activities. What are y'all thoughts on that?
Say that one more time. You said
on Joe Jackson's management capabilities, because at the end of the day, he cost his family potentially $200 or $300 million. And if you extrapolate that to the finances today, you talk about $750 million he could have potentially took out of his family's pocket with the way he handled the whole Jacksons and Thriller thing.
Oh, about not letting him tour and stuff like that?
Because, you know, when you look at it, if Joe handles this properly, he could have toured his entire family on this album. You had, you know, even though she wasn't a big star, Michael Jackson wrote a song for his sister Rebe called Centipede. It was a hit. You had the Jacksons, and you had Michael, and then you also had Jermaine. Jermaine Jackson is probably the greatest tragedy in music. If you go listen to his music, he has some great music, but it's kind of hard to have great music when Michael Jackson is your brother.
Right.
It's like being Kobe Bryant's little brother and you're an all-star.
Right.
You're just an all-star. You're Joe Dumars.
Right.
Yeah. And the first question people ask, what song is Michael on? Oh, Michael not on that album. Oh, okay, never mind.
Well, it's hard. Exactly. It's hard to quantify, you know, Joe Jackson's, you know, because it's speculation at this point, right? Because they advised against him not or doing the Thriller tour as the Jacksons. They advised against it, basically saying it was going to be a flop. So it did better than they thought it was going to do. And that's how they presented it, you know. Yeah. Now, true enough, if you tour Thriller alone, you know, it probably blows up even bigger, you know. But the way he toured wasn't necessarily a flop by any stretch of the imagination, you know.
Yeah.
I think he was more.
I was just going to say, I mean, even.
Himself, so.
Oh, yeah, no question about it.
Oh, absolutely. Because to H-Rap's point, Doc's point, and your point, Ben, if you go back, or you don't have to go back, if you remember, in the documentary, he said, I love the old songs, but I also love the new songs. They were songs for the Thriller album. Mm-hmm. He's singing songs, but in any city they stopped in, he had a chance to lay out a song from the Thriller album. He was going to do, he still, you know, kind of did his thing, but it, like I guess maybe Doc just mentioned it or H-Rap, but it was Thriller under the guise of the Jackson tour, really. Mm-hmm. Because Michael eventually started singing the songs that were on his album.
Yeah.
Yeah, they did. I think they did it similar to what they did to Motown 25 or whatever that show was.
Oh, yeah.
They would open with the Jackson stuff and then he'd finish with his stuff, you know?
Yeah.
And they were singing backup. Singing backup on the songs.
Right. Exactly.
Which there was some competition. I mean, you know, it's your brothers.
100.
Yeah. All right. So Thriller 40. If you haven't seen it already, make sure to go check that out. Let's get into some final thoughts and Mike rating. And Wilkes.
I really enjoyed this. It was done very well. Of course, in the back of my mind, I think Doc mentioned it earlier, I kept thinking about Prince. Like, man, can we get a better Prince documentary? Like, can we? I mean, look at I'm watching it on the TV, and it's like it's crystal clear. It's remastered. It looks good. It's not, it's just kind of choppy. I mean, the editing is great. I mean, the nostalgia is there. The music boards that they're showing you, the close-ups, and just talking about how they came up with these beats and did this and laid things in, and how Mike did his thing. I really enjoyed it. I got to give it a 5 because this definitely took me back as a kid, listening to Michael Jackson, remembering not the time, no pun intended. So it just remembering those moments of like, man, this man is about to drop a premiere video. I've never seen anything like this. What is this? The only premieres I knew were during the holidays, and goddamn Frosty the Snowman was coming on. I'm like, no, nobody wants to watch that. Nobody wants to watch that. Stop it, CBS. Nobody wants to watch that. But anyway, I digress. I give it a 5. I thought it was good. I enjoyed it.
Yep. Hey, Trevor.
Easily a 5. And what I really appreciated about this more than anything, it took us back to when video footage meant something. Everybody go live.
Right. Yeah. It was rare.
But now it walks you into personal spaces where you got insight from things that you never would have known about. Now everybody's sitting on the toilet, laugh. So it kind of kills it. Like, look at my food, So it took us back to a beautiful time in the world where time capsules meant something. And snapshot, we got intimate details. So I'm with Wilkes. Yeah, as I'm gonna use Wilkes' term, he activated his superpowers from the grave, and he gave us a wonderful piece of artwork. 5 nights.
Yeah,
absolutely.
All right, Doc.
Yeah, well, as I normally do, I'll give you the scores from IMDb, Rotten Tomatoes, Metacritic. IMDb gave it 7.8 out of 10. Rotten Tomatoes, 95%. Metacritic, 9 out of 10. I am kind of in their wheelhouse because I didn't give it quite a 5. I thought it fell a bit short of a 5, but I am at a 4.5 mics on it. So as close as you can get to a 5, but it just fell a bit short of a 5 for me.
Yeah. Wow. This was probably my favorite out of the ones we did. Probably close to. Luther was great, and also the Shine documentary was great too. But this one, man, Thriller is just one of those classic albums. Yeah, and really, I haven't seen anything that broke it down like this documentary did. With the people involved, it wasn't like making it up or people telling stories from afar. These were the actual people in the room helping make this album. And so where they broke it down is definitely a 5. It was a 5 before I watched it, during it when I was watching it, and after I watched it.
Go back and try to check some of the Thriller anniversary, albums out there that have like behind the scenes cuts and stuff like that. Yeah. I have a nephew that has been a huge Michael Jackson fan. He's one of the ones who gave us this documentary to do, and he spoke with the guy who did the documentary. They conversed. We were trying to get him on, and so as a result, I've seen probably every piece of behind the sines, inside the album cover. I've probably heard Michael Jackson songs that y'all ain't never ever heard before. That's how much stuff and content this guy, my nephew, has given me over the years with Michael Jackson. So that's probably why mine fell a little short, because I just know that there are so many more things just within the Thriller aspect of it, like how they showed up, the phone calls that were made to say, hey, we got this song, I need you here. Rod Temperton landing and not even going to the hotel, going straight to the studio and staying there for days on end before he even went to the studio because they didn't want to leave, and et cetera, et cetera. So there's just some more stuff that just by way of how I was indoctrinated to the Michael Jackson thing through my nephew, that I know they just, they left out. But other than that, it was fantastic though.
Yeah.
Head and shoulders above what we saw with Prince. And that really supports A-Trap's theory of somebody like this. You can't do a 2 hour and a half documentary on. No. It doesn't matter what you do. You're not gonna get it 100. It takes much more time than that to detail somebody's legacy.
Yeah. And then having artists like we seen Polo G, which I haven't really listened to his music before, but having
he's from my neighborhood. I know Prince.
Really?
Seriously, no joke.
Yeah, I mean, so like current artists, artists, past artists, and then going back to that time. So it really gave you kind of a piece of every era of music. So, man, all right. So shout out. All right, thank you to Vince Wright and the sports governor. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for the fun. All right, so next week. Like we mentioned, we got we may do it audible. So definitely I want Wilkes beer. I mean not Wilkes, but Dr. Beer. We'll switch it up. But what was on the end of the bench today?
Today I talked about pain.
Let me clear my throat. I
talked about pain and how you address pain, find out the source of the pain, and you heal the pain. The pain that it's an unspoken of pain in the Black community. People always put enslavement in the distance. I've had a reoccurring guest on my program who's actually had a conversation with an enslaved person. And I talked about the pain that we're thinking that we're protecting ourselves from this pain. When you don't address pain, it just festers. It becomes infected. Yeah. And if it becomes infected, it could potentially eat off a portion of your body. And that's what's happening from my perspective in our community. You had 339 years of enslavement and then 160 years of tyranny. And people, that was a long time ago. I was never a slave, but you know what? And one of the examples, you're still suffering from. One of the examples I gave was this. We have all, a lot of us, I can't say we have all, I don't want to speak in exacts, but a lot of us have seen young kids from other cultures running wild. They just being children. And you need to sit down, sit still. And you go how many of us have gone to the bank with our mother or grandmother, and we couldn't go any further than right here on our parents' hip. Yep. That's actually a trauma because you run around looking robust, and people who ran them plantations, they see a young, robust young man. He's a breeder. You come over here, we gonna breed you and sell you away. So mothers protected their children like that. Another way we inflict trauma on our young people, you have a white woman and a Black woman. They could be friends, and they're talking about their young men. And the white kid is being praised. He's doing well in school. He's entering the law program, and he's going to do this. And the young brother, he's in the law program. He's in technology, and he's excelling academically in other instances. And the white woman is saying, "My son, thank you for praising my son." And the white woman go, "Wait a minute, your son doing better than my son." And a lot of our people will go, "Wait, you should see him at home." Yeah. And we thinking, again, that's that trauma to protect my child because I don't want you taking him away from me. And you go, no, he a handful at home. That young person hears, my mother don't love me as much as his mother loves him. And we continue to drag that trauma. So we need to address it. Or you have a situation to whereas you have, I am suffering because my parents beat me. And my mom I found out my mother was a prostitute. And I found out my father was a gangbanger and a pimp. And now you have a little anguish behind that. But what you have to really do to address that trauma of, that generational trauma from enslavement, and then the transfer trauma and the embarrassment trauma, you have to start saying, I'm better than both my parents. And not in a sense of hierarchy, you have to draw everything that's good for your mother. Your mother used to be a drug addict and a prostitute. Okay, now she runs her own business. She's a very successful businesswoman. Don't think about what she did that looked bad. You say, hey, you know what? My mother overcame things that people kill themselves from. So that's intestinal fortitude. And you're looking at that intestinal fortitude, that's right here. That's my right side, because I get that from my mother. My father, yeah, he used to be a pimp. He used to be a drug dealer. But what he also is a master and negotiation, a businessman, supply and demand. And he can read people and understand how to deal with people in accordance to their personality traits. I have all of that inside of me as well. So guess what? I have the best out of my father. I have the best out of my mother, which makes me a super being. And when we start talking to our children about those things, at that point and only that point, our children will grow up to be the roses that they are and not worry about the thorns that we have. Because most roses have thorns, but you've never heard somebody go, "Ooh, that's a beautiful rose, smells great. Watch out for those thorns." They just go, "Beautiful rose, smells great," and they celebrate that. We have to celebrate our triumphs instead of looking at our pain. And that's what I spoke about. I usually only do 20 minutes a day, but today I did 3 times 20. I did a whole hour today. But I think we need to address the traumas, take the positives out of the trauma. In a biblical sense, separate the wheat from the tariff. So that's what I talked about.
Yeah, and more from a biblical standpoint is focus on that which is good.
It's a boy right here.
There's also a biblical support of what you're saying.
He actually, what he described, it reminded me, which I don't know it verbatim, it reminded me of the Malcolm X interview where he said, you pull the knife out 2 inches and, it's like that doesn't fix the problem. You pull a knife out my back.
Pull it all the way out.
You're not addressing the wound that the knife, the blow that the pain made. So, and I know I butchered that, but that's
no. That's exactly what he says. No. You killed it, Wilps. Yeah, and that's what inspired. Thank you, Wilps. That's what inspired this. That's what inspired this episode. We don't take the bullets out of our back. We just leave the bullet in there. The wound heals over the bullet. The bullet infects the person, and then it can continue. And now you put lead into your child.
Right.
It just continues to fester and grow instead of us saying, I've been shot before and I got shot because I did. Yes, Wilkes, home run. Thank you, Wilkes. If don't nobody else get what I said today, thank you. That was worth it.
Hey, no problem. No, that's what it reminded me of. I just kept hearing that interview in my head. And if they don't know it, you should check it out on YouTube. It's a really interesting interview.
You,
yeah.
Mission accomplished for today's episode.
Right on, brother.
Man, like if one person gets it, you get it. And then guess what? 2 people gonna get it because of what you said today. And if they go back and watch it, they'll go, "Oh, that's what he meant." And boy explained it better than you. So thank you, Wilkes.
Yes. Yeah, no problem.
All right, Queen 3 and King tomorrow.
No idea. They're supposed to have a special guest, Ben Sutters III, on at some point. Will that be tomorrow? Will we even have a show tomorrow? Depends on what side of the bed I wake up on in the morning.
So they're waiting on you, Ben.
Yeah, we damn sure not gonna get the most consistent podcast award. We're not after
that. Hey, we'll tune in tomorrow, maybe. Tune in tomorrow.
Ta-da!
All right, A-Trap, go ahead and close us out.
And note of Michael Jackson, thank y'all for tuning in.